guys, this is Tarot with Kittens, Weights, and Tarot, and today I'm doing a bit of a tutorial on how I read with oracle cards. So I had a few subscribers ask me, how do you read with oracle cards? How do you know that you're getting the right message? Or, you know, how do you pair it with other cards? So I'm going to break this into two small parts. I don't want it to be that lengthy of a video. So I'll get into how I pair it with other systems, as you can see up at the top here, but I just want to talk about oracle cards in general. At first, when because I got actually quite a few questions from various subscribers, on and off for the past couple months or so, how do you do this? How do you do this with oracle cards? And in my brain, I'm like, oh, well, you just read oracle cards, you just go with your intuition. But I think that when you've been reading, and I'm maybe talking about myself, when I've been reading for a certain amount of time, I may have forgotten what it was like to be somebody who's at the beginning. You may have this interest in all these wonderful cards, all these beautiful pictures, and it just seems, effortless when somebody just grabs a card and all of a sudden they start telling you all this stuff and you're like, wow, how did you do that? And so I just want to give you kind of the basics on how I read with oracle cards. So I'm starting off with a very simple deck. This one was meant for all ages. It's by Scott Alexander King, who's also created other decks as well. And yeah, let's just dive into it. So let's say I just came home with my very first oracle deck. Okay, so when you open the box, there's going to be a deck inside, and there's also going to be a guidebook. So for the most part. we're going to start off simple. So we're saying that the deck that we have has a guidebook and it has a deck. So I'm going to put this off to the side for now. And let's say I want to do a reading for myself. Maybe I went on Pinterest and I saw card spreads, where each position in the spread relates to a particular question. So to keep this video simple, let's say I'm going to do a 3-card spread. And in my 3-card spread, and in your spreads or whatever questions you want to ask, they're your questions. Don't feel like you're asking the wrong type of question, or da-da-da. I would refrain from, however, asking yes or no questions. So whenever you're using card systems like Oracle or any of the other systems that there are out there, refrain from asking something that can be answered in yes or no. You want something that would have to read more like a sentence or a paragraph, or that you have to dive deeper into what's going on with you, what's going on with the situation, the people around you. So for my 3-card spread, I'm just making this up. I want to know, let's say, about a particular situation that's going on, and I want to know, what is my block in that situation? How can I overcome that block? And if I do listen to the advice here and overcome that block, what will be the outcome or possible outcome? Because remember, we have free will. We don't always have to listen to what the cards tell us. We dictate our futures, not the cards. Okay, so let's say I have a 3-card spread here. Okay, and so I ask the question, what is my block in this situation? And I don't know, let's say my situation is I'm looking for a job. Okay, I'm having a hard time finding a job. So what's my block right now? In this card we have eel. And you'll notice that in an oracle deck, it'll usually have a keyword, and there might be a little phrase, or there might be keywords underneath. What I find great about oracle cards is that it's not a structured system like the decks that I have back here, where there is a particular way that you read with those decks, so to speak. Not everybody follows the systems exactly. Some people do. But there are particular symbols in each of those structured systems. There's particular meanings in each of those structured systems. And in oracle cards, you pretty much get to do whatever you want with them, because there isn't a right or wrong way to do oracle cards. And I am putting the caveat that there isn't a right or wrong way, let's say a wrong way to read any of these cards. You know, every reader is different and they kind of do their own thing, but I do know that there are systems for those, whereas oracle cards, there really aren't systems. So, okay, I'm looking for a job. I'm having a hard time finding my job or finding a job. So my block, it says eel. I say no to peer group pressure. So peer pressure. So what I'm going to do now, maybe you're like, peer pressure? I don't understand. How is peer pressure a block? Well, if you're having a bit of a hard time, don't feel bad about busting out the guidebook. So I'm going to bust out my guidebook. And luckily this is in alphabetical order, so I'm going to find eel. Wow, there is a lot written about eel. But, you know, guidebooks are handy, and guidebooks are not just for beginners. Guidebooks are for everybody. Otherwise, you know, people write guidebooks because the creators of these decks want you to see things from their point of view. They have a lot to say about these cards because they created the cards. So don't feel bad if you're like, oh man, you know, I see people that are not using the guidebook when they read. Well, when you are reading for yourself, there are a lot of professional readers, a lot of people who've been reading for years who do consult guidebooks because oftentimes the guidebooks have a lot more to say than the cards do. So let's say I read all of this and I'm like, wow, there's a lot going on here. It says, so you have the eel slide into your cards today, is to be asked to make that decision now. Perhaps you're being tested at this time to dabble in drugs, experiment with alcohol, or smoke just one cigarette. Perhaps you have seen your friends doing it. They look as though they're having fun, don't they? They think they look cool, am I right? And because everyone is doing it, you are considering joining in. Okay, so I continue reading and I start to think, okay, how can I make a connection with this message with what might be preventing me from getting a job? And I start to think, well, I do know that sometimes when I want to, work on my resume, or, I want to set up an interview, tomorrow, but then, I have my friends who love to go out and party. And sometimes I get swayed to go hang out with folks instead of working on my resume. But I have been working on it. It's just, sometimes I want to work and go hang out with my friends more than I want to work on my resume. So maybe this peer pressure is a block of yours. So hanging out with friends and doing stuff like that, that's maybe I need to reorganize my schedule. Okay, so that's a block for myself. So in essence, what you're doing with oracle cards is you're using it not only like a psychological tool for self-reflection, you're trying to gather meaning from what it says here, and you're trying to make that connection in your life. So instead of seeing things in just black and white and linear, you are now trying to look at underlying things that you might be doing, unconscious things, So again, this could be psychological, and it's also, I would say, a good way to open up your intuition, where you're like, well, I don't know, this is like, I'm looking at this picture, I don't know, the eel's kind of creepy. So in my gut, I'm feeling like with this block, there's something that I'm doing that's not good for me. With this creepy guy, I'm feeling like this is bad. This is not good. I'm not helping myself in some way. So now your intuition's coming into play. When you're reading this, you're working on a little bit of psychology. When you start diving into the picture and you start getting a gut feeling about something, now you're working with your intuition. And this is a wonderful segue to do that with oracle cards. Okay, so now I have I know what my block is. I'm making more time for my friends than I am job hunting. So how can I overcome this block? Oh, I have a skunk. Right away I'm thinking, I don't want to get sprayed by a skunk, but this skunk looks kind of cute. I still don't want to be sprayed by him though. It says, I have respect for others. Well, I start thinking, does that mean I should have more respect for my friends? Or, oh, maybe I should have more respect for the time of the employers. You know, they're the ones waiting on me to come in for those interviews. I don't want to waste people's time. Oh, so now you're making connections again. Okay, so you're reading the sentence and you're making those connections with your life. Oh, okay, so maybe I don't want to waste other people's time. Maybe that's why it's so hard to get a job. I'm out partying with my friends too much, and maybe I haven't been the most prompt to my interviews. Okay, so what if I maybe hang out with my friends just a little less and focus more on trying to work on my resume, make interviews, setting up interviews, and I make sure that I am early to these interviews and that I don't waste their time. What if I do this? What could be a possible outcome? And we get the fox. Ooh, as they say, crafty as a fox. It says, I'm proud to be me. Well, that seems positive to me. I don't know about you, but my gut is saying that's positive. So again, my intuition's coming into play. That feels positive. I am proud to be me. Well, what connection could that make to you if this were your future? That looks like I might actually get a job. So that's how I would read with oracle cards in a basic 3-card spread. Okay, so that's if you get a deck that, you know, has the keyword here and there's a nice little sentence for you to use. So if you're looking at getting your first oracle deck, I would just advise, and again, this is all just how I do it. There's probably tarot and oracle readers and, you know, other readers out there that do things a little bit differently. But, you know, since people asked, you know, I'm just trying to help out with the best way I know how. So I would say, you know, again, get a deck that has pretty good guidebook in it, you know, something that you can read. The cards have a nice sentence on there for you to kind of help you out, and there's a nice little keyword on there or a little word on there. Okay, so now let's say you get a different type of deck, and so I'm going through decks through levels of what I think are difficulty. So now I get a deck and there's no keyword here, but it does have a sentence, and you might come across oracle decks that are like this. Okay, so maybe I just want to pull one card. And remember, I want to refrain from asking yes or no questions. I want to ask questions that are have a little bit more analysis to them. Just like when I am helping out my seniors, because I teach high school. When we have an interview unit, and I tell them to refrain from yes or no questions with the person they are being interviewed by. So let's say the question I'm asking, I don't know. Let's say I've been having a little bit of a tussle with my sibling lately, my brother. You know, maybe you have a sister. I have a couple half sisters, but I'm mainly keep in contact with my brother. And so, how could I improve communication with my brother? Okay, I'm just gonna pull one card, but you know, you might want to pull one more card. So how can I improve communication with my brother? Okay, so I'm looking here again. There's no keyword, but there is a sentence. It says, I am at home in my body and at peace in my spirit. What does this have to do with communication with my brother? So now, remember, don't feel bad about having to consult the guidebook. Okay, so I'm going to look here. And this is card number 26, and the keyword here is meditate. So it's in page 73. Okay, and let's say I read this whole thing. It looks like there's a ritual for a daily meditation. You know, these guidebooks are fun. It says meditation teaches us mindfulness and acceptance. It allows us to witness our inner world and learn to look honestly at what we discover so that we consciously expand into our best selves day by day. Okay, so now taking that into consideration, let's say you read the whole thing you're like, okay, so what does mindfulness and being still within myself and being aware of my surroundings, how does that correlate with having better communication with my brother? Now your intuition is coming into play as well as your psychology, because now you're trying to make a psychological connection, but now you're waiting for those gut feelings where inside of you, you're feeling like, I feel like this is the answer. And I think that the more you read for yourself, the more you practice, the more comfortable you'll get with the gut feelings that you receive. Oftentimes people wonder, am I getting the right message? And I'm not. That will slowly go away with time, that questioning of yourself, because even the most seasoned of readers, every once in a while needs some validation. So don't feel bad if you're questioning yourself. I don't know if it's the right answer. For now, I would say just go with it. Read for yourself for now. Read for friends, people that aren't going to be judgmental, and go with the answers that come to you. And the more that you do this, as months go by, years go by, that little nagging feeling of, I don't know if I'm right, slowly is going to diminish. Okay, so back to the question at hand. How can I improve communication with my brother? I am thinking that maybe I need to make more time. I need to be more present when I am on the phone with him, instead of trying to do other things while I'm talking to him on the phone. Like maybe I'm trying to make dinner and I'm trying to feed the cats and I'm trying to, do this. Maybe I'm drawing a picture. Maybe I need to make my sole focus my brother. That's what mindfulness means to me, So again, this is me personally. You are the reader, so everything has to go through you. What does it mean to you? Okay, so there's that particular type of deck where there isn't a keyword now, but there is a sentence on it. So let's go see what a different type of deck might bring. Okay, and again, I just feel like some decks might be a little harder for beginners than others. So now, okay, I have this deck that has a site on it. And here we have Glastonbury Tour. And you're like, oh, whoa, I've never been to wherever that is. Maybe you don't even know where Glastonbury is. So you're like, I don't even know where that is. But there is a lot of sentence down here, so that does help me out. So what would be helpful is, let's say you have a deck that has like gods or goddesses in it. And let's say you have a deck like this where it's got a lot of different places in the world. And maybe you're not a geography student and you don't know about every single place in the world, or maybe you're not up on your theology, and you haven't really studied every religion and every deity in every religion, and so you don't know much about them. So now comes the external stuff. So let's say I'm asking a question. How can I become a better cook? That's actually a real question, you guys. How can I become a better cook? Let's see. Okay, it says magnetic South Pole. Okay, well, you know what? I've never been to the South Pole, so I don't really know much about the South Pole. It says, it is acceptable not to know. Mystery is part of life. Acceptance allows me to begin to grow. Right away, my gut feeling is like, acceptable not to know, so it's okay. The universe is saying, it's okay, you don't know how to cook. Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay, so let's say you bust out the guidebook that's in here, you read up about the South Pole. It says a whole lot about the South Pole, and it's through there you're like, oh, I start to gain a little bit more meaning about this place, which means more to me. And if the guidebook doesn't have enough information about this place or this god or goddess or whatever religion is being depicted in the cards that you're not quite familiar with, I would say Google it. You have your cards and start Googling as much information about that place, that god, that goddess, that real particular part of a religion, and learn as much as you can. And through your learning is where the messages come in. You start to consolidate all your research, and you're like, oh, now I start again working on the psychological. You start working on the the gut feelings, your intuition, and it starts to make sense to you because you're trying to make those connections. Okay, so again, so if you grab a deck that has gods and goddesses, and let's say there's a deity from an African religion, and you're like, well, I'm not quite familiar with that religion, I would say Google it. Try to learn as much as you can, because within your research, you're going to learn more. And the more you research and the more you learn about different places, people, religions, different decks, it's like, I would say, university for the oracle reader, university for the intuitive. Just like a student in public school or private school takes different subjects, they learn, they go to secondary school, later on they go to college. They're constantly taking in information, and the more they know, the more they read, they start to take that and it starts coloring their readings here. So, I, have a bachelor's degree. I've done a lot of school. I continue to do school. I teach school. I have to do a lot of professional developments. I have to, keep up my university credits. So I constantly have to go back to school. I went to, got my teaching credential and everything. So I have a lot of this knowledge. And because I have this knowledge about education and students, and I have all this life experience, I'm taking all of that and all of my personal life and everything that I've gone through, and that colors my readings. So same for you, person out there who wants to read oracle cards. Everything that you've ever learned, life lessons, school lessons, everything, you bring that to your readings, because each one of us is different, which makes it fantastic when it comes to being a reader, because if we were all exactly the same, we'd get some pretty boring readings. So there's that particular type of deck. And I have the Pythia Botanica Oracle. This one has a lot less going on in the cards. There is a guidebook in here. There's the guidebook. Okay, now you see there's a lot more simplicity. I have a single flower. I have a word that tells me the name of the flower and a word for what's going on here. So I would say when you get down to things that are a lot more simple, this could be after a while of practicing with your oracle cards. So at this point, I would say you should be a little bit more confident in your intuition, and you should be a little bit more confident in your, working with in psychology, working with yourself, your own psychology, I should say. This is not to say to steer clear of these types of decks when you're a beginner. That's totally fine, because wherever you start is where you start. You're gonna be where you at. But a lot of people say, oh, the best deck to start with is a Rider-Waite-Smith when it comes to tarot. I started with the Osho Zen, which is kind of a different system. So you start where you start. But let's say you get a deck like this, and the question was, how could I be a better cat mama? And here we have escape. I'm like, what does escape mean to me? Well, I certainly don't want to escape from my kittens, and I certainly don't want them to escape from me. But what other words can I come up with escape? You could read the guidebook. That's perfectly fine, and maybe there's more keywords in the guidebook. But start, if you have single words like this, I would say start finding synonyms to this word. So maybe escape could also be like vacations or travel, something like that. I'm like, oh, you know what? Maybe it means, because I have little harnesses for my kitties. Maybe they just want to go outside more on their harness, and like play in the flowers and things like that. Oh, so now that makes more sense to me. Okay, so if you get a keyword and this don't make sense to you, find the synonyms, and possibly through the synonyms, it might make more sense. Okay, so now let's move on to the final deck that I have here. You might come across, and this is actually my deck, by the way. I created this one. This is my Wally's World, A Healing Journey Through Sacred Sites. And just to do a little plug while I'm taking it out, you can find it on my website at www.kittensweightsandtarot.com. Yay! Okay, so let's say you get a deck and there's a guidebook in here where, bam, there's no keywords, there's no sentences. Now what do? Now you're solely working off of your intuition. So let's say I get a question like, how can I cheer myself up today? Let's say I'm having kind of a bummy day. How can I cheer myself up today? So I'm going to pull myself a card. How can I cheer myself up today? Let's say I get this card. Well, I can consult the guidebook, and I will tell you that this is in Hangzhou, China. And, well, is it saying I should go to China? That could be a possibility. Or maybe it could be, maybe I could go out on a boat. Well, that's not feasible. I don't own a boat, and I certainly don't feel like renting a boat. So then I have to look even more. Well, there is a body of water in there. Maybe I could go out to the lake. I could go out to the pool. I could go out to the ocean. If I'm nowhere near a body of water, maybe I can go out my backyard and spray myself with the hose. That might be fun. Or, fill up a little bucket full of water and put my feet in it. That might be fun. So now we start getting creative when you get cards like this, where there aren't any keywords at all. So yeah, maybe it's to cheer myself up today, I just need to find myself a body of water. Or it could be, because this is outdoors, it's just to get outdoors today. So now when you get cards like this, you're now just working on your intuition. Remember that I know it's going to feel like, I don't know if it's the right answer, I don't know. And that will go away in time the more you read. So the last thing, and this I'm just going to go quickly because I know this is a lengthy video. I didn't want to make it that long. I'm going to bust out the deck that I brought at the beginning by Scott Alexander King. And let's say I would like to pair my Oracle deck with one of the other systems up here. First of all, I would say if you're going to do that, make sure that you understand the actual system. So if you're going to read Lenormand or Kipper or Marseille or Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot, that you understand the system first, like what the symbols mean, what the meanings of each of those cards, and now you can start pairing them with your Oracle decks. So let's say I'm just gonna bust out my giant Rider-Waite-Smith because it's big and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Well, whatever. Not doing a real reading. It doesn't matter. I don't have all the cards here. Okay, so I'm doing a pretend reading. I want to know what type of food would nourish my body tonight for dinner, okay? You can ask all kinds of weird questions when you're playing with your cards. And I would say have fun with your cards, by the way. That doesn't always have to be serious. See, I'm not being serious right now. Like, what? Okay, maybe I am being serious. Like, what really? What food would nourish my body tonight for dinner? Okay. I'm obviously not eating elephant people. Elephant, people. Commas save lives. I'm not eating elephant people. This is elephant, I forgive. What the heck does that mean? It's like, I forgive. What kind of food would that be for dinner? Well, what do elephants eat? Well, last time I was at the zoo, they ate a lot. They went crazy for carrots and stuff like that. Oh. So now I can maybe disregard what it says down here, and I'm going off of what I know about elephants as it pertains to my question. Well, maybe I should make something that has carrots in it. I'm not a big carrot fan, but hey, if the universe wants me to eat my vegetables, I probably should eat more vegetables. So now I'm using another deck because I want to get a more colorful answer. So the reason people might pull multiple cards, and you might see this where somebody might be using an oracle card and a tarot card, maybe they're using a tarot card also from a different deck, and some people are like, why are you using so many different cards? Because for many readers, and this is not all readers, many readers feel that there are different ways of looking at the question depending on the deck that you're using, because each deck visually looks a little bit different. The systems might be different. You might get not completely different answers, but a different way to look at the answer to your problem or to your question, which is why people use different types of decks. So again, we were talking about what food would best nourish my body for dinner tonight. And I know that elephants really, really like carrots. So I'm thinking maybe I should have carrots, but let's see how the Rider-Waite-Smith here could color my answer for me. And here we have, this card is stalking me today. Here we have the Five of Swords, which is some sort of loss. So I'm like, you know, maybe you know the Rider-Waite-Smith system, or the system of whatever other deck it is that you're using, and you're like, okay, so what does loss? And I know that swords is sometimes, you know, referring to mental, so some sort of mental loss or mental down. What does that have to do with elephants eating carrots? And then I start to use my intuition. What does my gut feeling say? Well, let's see, mental loss. Oh, maybe I should not think so hard on what I should have for dinner. Because obviously this is loss, something moving away. You know, maybe I'm having too many thoughts about dinner, and I'm like, I need to keep it simple. Okay, elephants are eating carrots. They look really happy. They like other vegetables. Maybe I should just keep my meal simple tonight. I don't have to go all out and I gotta cook this and I gotta cook a side dish and I gotta do this and blah blah blah, and then I gotta figure out, you know, if I should just have ice water or something else. Just keep it simple. KISS. Keep it simple, sir. So yes, so that's how basically I would read using oracle cards and another divination system. So that's it, you guys. That is my tutorial on how I read with oracle cards, with a very brief explanation of how I might also incorporate other cards into the reading. Again, remember, when you're incorporating other cards into the reading, it's not so you can get a completely different answer. It's because different cards and different deck systems have just a different way of looking at the answer to your question. And so it's like getting a couple of friends together, and maybe these friends don't think exactly alike, but they both want to help you out, and they both might have similar answers. It just might be different coming out of their mouths, you know, because they're two different people. Think of your decks as people. They're here to help you, but ultimately you have to be the one to translate the information that's coming from your friends. So you translate it through the psychology of yourself, and you translate it through your own life experience, your level of education, your level of, I would say, street smarts, you know, your outside education, your background, your intuition. You just put all of that together, and that's what makes beautiful readings. All right, so that's it from me, spiritual homies. I hope you dug this, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to click subscribe, and don't forget to click that ding 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 notification bell for more videos just like this. And if you would like to see me do another tutorial type video on any questions you have about reading cards, just let me know in the comment section down below, and I will see if that is feasible. And hey, if you do want to catch a reading from me, head over to www.kittenswaitsandtarot.com. I have a lot of different reading styles for you guys to choose from, and I have my Wally's World Oracle over there if you guys want to go check that out. Wally has made his way all around the world, which is pretty freaking fantastic. I've sent decks basically all over the globe now, and I'm so excited. And hey, if you want to give a little back and you want to send a little love my way for these kinds of videos, you want to see me do more videos, then hey, just head over to patreon.com/kittenswaitsandtarot and join that KWT tribe, where I also give you guys a lot of free goodies. So definitely check that out. All right, I will catch you spiritual homies later. Peace, love, and chicken grease. Peace out.